In our last video, we took a systematic but largely abstract look at all of the operators in RailClone. In this installment, we're going to take that theory and apply it to our central building in order to add some sequences, some randomization, and to group some geometry together. So we're going to start with the main part of the building, which currently all has the same segment used. The thing to fix first of all is this pilaster here, which you can see is double the width of the one above and below. This is because it's on a corner, and if we go into the spline we can see there's a corner on a straight section of the path. If you remember from a couple of tutorials ago, corners work by putting a whole segment either side of the vertex, and that's why we have a double thickness here as opposed to the 90-degree corners. So to fix this, we want to use a half-size segment just on these straight sections, and we'll do that by picking a half-size piece of geometry from the scene and then wiring a conditional node into the corner input. We'll wire the original corner into the false input and the new corner, the half-sized one, into the true input, and then turn off check wide angles and set the value to 110. This means any angle that's greater than 110 degrees will get the smaller segment, and our standard 90-degree angles will get the normal size one. So with that done, we're now going to swap out the main geometry, the facade geometry, and add some segments which have got balconies. So I'll just pick one from the scene as a new segment, and then I'm going to wire it for a sequence operator. So this will create a pattern of balcony and non-balcony, balcony, non-balcony, all the way around. That works really well. But what about if we want to randomize the types of balconies? So I'll just clone this segment once again and pick this alternate balcony geometry from the scene. Now I can wire this to a randomize operator which we placed before the sequence. Now you can see I've got two types of balcony being randomized each time it's chosen. How about the normal facade section? Well, we can do the same thing. I've got three types, so I'll just add three new segments and pick them from the scene. And I'm copying and pasting the original ones just so I don't have to change the alignment settings every time. I'll wire these for a randomized operator. And now you can see we're randomizing the balconies and the non-balcony sections. Note here I've got a segment piece which is asymmetric, so I could add a little bit of extra variety by wiring that for a mirror operator and connecting it to the existing randomize. So you can see it's on the right here and the left up here. Let's say we want to remove the balcony sections from the parts of the building that jut out in the foreground. In order to do that, we can control it using material IDs. Just select the base spline, go to the segments and change the material ID. Then go back into the RailClone graph, and here we're going to use a selector operator. So we'll drag a selector into the scene, change the mode to X-spline material ID, and then wire just the normal facade sections into the second input. So now we have the sequence on material ID 1 and only the basic geometry on material ID 2. Next up, we're going to adapt the ground floor and use the compose operator to combine together several types of segment for a lot of different randomization. In the scene, we've already got the pieces prepared and the pivots have been arranged so that when they're aligned, everything snaps together like a jigsaw. So here you can see the sign snapping to the top section, and I can also align this canopy which fits over the top. I'll just undo that to put them back where they were. And then the pilasters are the same, so I've got these little signs here that jut out from the pilasters on brackets, and again the pivots have been arranged so that if I align them they snap together correctly. So how do we use those in the graph? Well, this is where we use compose operators in group mode, but before I do that I'll adapt this graph, which if you recall a couple of episodes ago was created from a preset, by just swapping out the geometry. So I'm just going to swap out the default geometry, I'm going to add the new pilaster, and then I'm going to change the corners too. So now I've swapped that, I'm going to just check that the evenly settings are correct. I'm just going to change the value to about 600 here, just to match what's above. The first thing we'll tackle is the corner, which is exactly the same as the floors we did above. I just need to clone it. I need to use a half-sized segment, and then I'll wire this via a conditional node into the corner input, taking the original corner into the false and the new corner into the true. I can then test the angle to see if it's greater than 110 degrees with check wide angles turned off. And once again, this allows me to target those vertices which are on a straight section of path versus the ones that are on an actual corner. It's quite a handy tip. So with that done, we can start to add a lot of randomization to this style. So I'm going to add a compose operator which lets me group together multiple segments. I'm going to then clone multiple, and I'm going to pick all those signs on brackets from the scene. This is a quick way of importing multiple segments. I'm going to wire these to a randomise operator before putting them in the compose operator. This will ensure that each time one is placed, it's randomised. Now you can see at the moment the signs are placed one after another, and that's because the compose operator is in sequence mode. If we change it to group mode, it uses the geometry's original pivot points to align the pieces together, but it does change how they're aligned to the spline, basically resetting them to the default modes. This can be easily fixed by adding a transform node, turning on override alignment, and then changing the Y and Z back to pivot. Now that we've randomized our pilasters, let's start with the facade. I've got two types of shop front here which have got an area for the signs. I'm going to take those for a randomize node so it randomly selects them. Now I've also got a full height glass section which I want to randomize as well. I'll do this for a second randomize node, which will give us a 50% chance of one being selected. As you can see here. You can see that my evenly segments aren't quite lining up on the ground floor to the floors above. So I'm just going to fix that by going in and changing the evenly settings. So I'll go to the generator, go to the rules tab and go down to the evenly settings. And here I'm going to turn off justify and I'm going to turn on adaptive. And then I'm going to change adjuster end to 50% and then change the distance to see if I can match what's above. That seems about right. Let's look at the front. So here I've got one long section where above I have two. So I'll change adjuster end to 100% and now everything seems to line up. Okay, that's much better. Now we can start to randomize these facades with some shop names and the canopies. To do that, we'll take the existing shop fronts, wire them to a compose operator and change the mode to grouped. We then want to import all the signs. So once again, we'll do that by cloning multiple. Right click on any existing segment node, go to clone multiple. Find the names of the shop signs, clone them. Then wire these to a randomise operator. Then wire the randomise operator to the compose node to jigsaw them together. So now you can see anywhere where one of the shop fronts that has space for a sign will have a sign. That's all working great. So next we want to add the canopies. So once again we'll clone multiple and then find the canopies. Clone those. So we want to randomize these two, so we'll take these for another randomize operator and then pipe them into the compose node. So I said the geometry's changed, and that's because I've exceeded a polygon count and it's gone into box display mode just to keep my viewports fast. I'll switch it back to mesh. Okay, so once again, to fix the alignment, I'll just add a transform node, turn on override alignment and change Y and Z to pivot. And that fixes that. Okay, that's all working well. Another thing you can do is to add a segment but not pick any geometry, and I'm going to call it null so it's easy to identify, and pipe this into that randomise node, and that will have the effect of randomly removing the canopies from certain shop fronts. I can further control things using material IDs, so maybe I don't want canopies in these little sections here. So what I'll do is I'll go to the base spline, I'll change the material ID to 2, and the same on the other side where I don't want canopies. Once that's done, I'll come back to the graph, and this time I'll use a conditional node and wire the null segment to the false input, and I'll change material ID to equal 1. So when it's true, it will pick the random node. When it's false, it will pick the null segment. And I've removed the canopies from those little areas where I didn't want them. So far so good, but what about if we want to put some interiors into these shops so that we can see through the glass? In order to do that, we'd have to bring in some interior geometry, which you can see I've got here on the top right. We'd change the alignment on the Y and Z axis to pivot. Do the same for the other version. I've got 2 types here. And once again, I'm going to wire those to a random node. The random node to the existing compose operator, and there we go. But there is a bit of an issue. You can see it's opened up gaps between the shop fronts, and that's because I haven't got the pivots aligned correctly on these interiors. I've left this mistake in deliberately to show you how you need to fix these things. I know the shop fronts have the pivots aligned to the bottom left hand corner, and you can see the interiors have the middle. So what I need to do is to just take these and then go into Effect Pivot Only and just move them over to the snap to the left hand side. Same with the other one. And while I'm here, I'll just fix this geometry a little bit because there are gaps on the left and the right hand side, and I want to close those up so we can't see through them through the glass. So I just very quickly bridge those gaps while I'm here. With that done, we'll go back to our style, and you can see they've already been fixed. But I haven't added them yet to the full height glass sections of the building fronts, only the ones that have got the sign above them. So in order to fix that, I need to take those same nodes, that same random operator, and use another compose to connect them with the full height glass segments, which you can see here. And I can toggle it on and off to make sure I've got the right piece. So I'll add a compose operator after that piece that I've just identified, change the mode to grouped, and then wire the random node into its second input. Now you can see all of the shop fronts now have a room behind them. In this tutorial, we used compose, sequence, randomise, conditional, and mirror operators to create 2 different types of building style. These styles required a spline for each floor. But in the next video, we'll look at how to use a 2D array so that you can create a whole building using only a single path to define the footprint. Make sure you don't miss it by subscribing to our channel.